Hey Denchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to my review of the newest EP from Murtagh. This one's called Lost, and I found about Murtagh a few months ago with the release of his remix of Fumes by the Eden Project, and when I listened to this I was blown away. He's definitely got some serious talent as a producer, and this one was he labeled as an experimental track, and I think that's the best way to describe it, experimental EDM. He kind of mixed around with a few hard dubstep sounds, sounds you'll hear on albums like Scribble, Deconstructing Nature, just noisy, loud, experimental EDM, which I've really been getting into, and it's just very artistic and contrasting noise with beauty, like I've talked about a million times before this year. And it seems like he has a very close relationship with artists like Puppet and artists like the Eden Project, and this is the kind of group that I want to get in with, because the Eden Project, or now he's known as Eden after his name change, I reviewed his EP earlier this year. I gave it a 10 out of 10, Bipolar Paradise. That EP was really awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a future, maybe an album, next couple years from Eden. But it seems like this group stays very close together, and you can easily tell, like with tracks like Forever on this EP. It definitely has a lot of influence, especially with synthesizers and production sounds, from artists like Puppet. And although he's a fairly new emerging artist, they're very close together, Murtagh and Puppet. And I think that there was probably a lot of influence from Puppet on this track, and that's kind of the only thing on this EP that swayed my opinion a little south, is that it sounds a lot like his style, and I didn't really need to just hear another track. This could have easily been a Puppet collab, and it easily could have just been a track by him, but regardless, it's still very nice electro-progressive house, and that style is always very easy to listen to, and I really enjoy tracks like this. Start off on a little bit more of a progressive note with Avalon. Definitely an intro, doesn't really bring anything awesome to the table, but it's still a really cool intro, and makes it a little bit easy to flow through this. And that's another thing about this EP I really liked, is the seamless flow of tracks one into another. We heard that on Bipolar Paradise, and now we're hearing it on Murtagh's EP, where the tracks seamlessly flow together. And speaking of the Eden Project, on the third track on this album, Lost, or EP for that matter, which is the last track, we actually get vocals from Eden, and they're uncredited, of course, but I think this is actually one of Eden's worst appearances. I don't want to say it's bad, because it isn't, and his vocals are fantastic. So the vocals actually just remind me a lot of the same kind of thing he was already doing on when he featured in the Exit Friendzone track, Iris. They used to be Friendzone, but now they're Exit Friendzone, so I had to change it to their new name. That's the first I had ever heard of them. Anyway, we'll continue into that, and I think his vocal style is very similar to that, and that's probably why I didn't like his vocals as much on this one. But we get a little bit more diversity on this one. This, regardless, is probably my favorite track on the EP due to the intensity and diversity of this track as a whole. We get a progressive style kind of intro and the vocal-y section, and then we kind of drops out of that and gets into more, maybe a Porter Robinson electro style. We heard something like this on Fellow Feeling with the first drop on Porter Robinson's Worlds, and it kind of goes into this hard, artsy electro drop, and those are very enjoyable to me, and just to listen to, not necessarily to use live, but I think this is something that could easily translate to both, something more artsy and a live tool that could definitely get people dancing, and I thought this track was very enjoyable as a whole, and kind of wraps around to that same experimental EDM sound that I do want to hear from Murtagh. And we've heard a lot of progressive releases from him, like his remix of Scribble. We've heard his song Alpha. That was a very nice progressive hit, and I think the direction that he's going is a very solid direction, and I think he can definitely make it as a big name producer, maybe push himself to Monster Cat in the next few months. Possibly, very possibly, I think. He's already made it to Tasty Records, and I think he can easily push himself a little bit farther as a producer and be able to get maybe on a Puppet collab very soon. And he probably knows more than me. If you're watching this, let me know if there's a Puppet collab, because I want to hear it and I want to premiere it. So Anyway, I'm going to give this EP an 8.5. I think that's the best it deserves. Very enjoyable. I didn't really dislike much of this other than the fact that the second track just sounds a little too much like Puppet, but that's okay. That's alright. That happens with a lot of different things. So anyway, go get this EP. It's free. I'll link it in the description. I think you can actually pay what you want on Bandcamp, so if you think it deserves more, which it does, go out and pay for it and give them what you want. Maybe $3 is probably a fair price for this EP. Since it's 3 tracks and it's very, very good. So go on and get it and support this awesome artist. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this little EP review. See you later.